device, you must turn off your audio and mute your microphone to avoid feedback. If you are presenting via Zoom, please turn on your audio and microphone when it is time for you to speak. Following the presentation by the petitioner and questions from the commission, members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment. Please identify yourself with name and address for the record. You can also raise your hand from your phone by dialing *9 and use *6 to unmute. All video screens will be turned off with the exception of the commissioners, Delia, and the current petitioner. Once the commission has acted on an application, the petitioner is free to leave the meeting. In the event of any technical difficulties, all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will automatically be continued to the August 11th NRC meeting. At this time, I would ask the commissioners to introduce themselves.
Greg Higgins.
Gary Kleiman.
Nick Pappas.
Thank you. All right, so the first item up is the approval of the April 21st, 2021 meeting minutes. I did not have any comments for those. Greg?
Nope.
Okay. Nick?
No.
All right.
I move we accept the minutes of the April 21st.
Second.
And the vote, and Gary, you're going to abstain. Okay. Nick?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. All right, Delia, director's report.
So the first thing that I wanted to let you know about, you may have already heard about this from Mass Wildlife, but they issued an advisory to the state residents of there's an unknown pathogen that is spreading. It's been observed in states outside of New England, and so that in order to, it's precautionary, but in order to stop spread through communal spaces, they're advising that residents take down their bird feeders and their bird nests, and also report any dead birds that they find, that people find to Mass Wildlife. And the website is up here. If you just Google Mass Wildlife Advisory, that this will come up, and we're going to publish news and notices on it as well. The contact person should be on here. It's Marion Larson. There she is, Marion Larson. Marion.Larson@mass.gov, or her phone number is 508-389-6311. I wanted to just touch base with the commission about bike trails. You saw the letter that I issued to Brian Wilson on those trails at Captain Miles. And I met with him and the Trails Committee Chair Bob White, and he agreed to remove all the trails that he had put in without authorization from town parcels. So that is so this parcel up here is town. This is town as well. Those are both conservation pieces, and then this piece is municipal. Right, one at the bottom with the switchback from Powder Mill Road. But there's also, you can see a number of bike trails throughout there. So what we said that would be okay is, as long as he gets permission from Old Pickard Farm Trust, which is this purple parcel private, that he could maintain a loop trail. So this is on the town land here. But it would be for pedestrian use only, because there's jumps and there's like these steep banks and cut and erosion, and so it's problematic. And he agreed to do all that, and said he could take until end of September. But it sort of prompted, and I've been talking with Will Holden, our land manager, about this since he came on board in March. That one of the things that I would like to work with him this fall is to walk all of the town conservation lands and evaluate their suitability for bikes, because we're seeing a lot more of them on trails, and we don't have a policy on it right now. And I think we just need to identify which trails are suitable, and those can be posted as open to bikes, and the ones that are not suitable, that go to wetlands or rare species habitat, or they're right next to a little pool, or whatever it is, muddy trails. So, like I was just along the Amble a couple of weeks ago, and was it you that mentioned to me? Right.
Yeah.
So I saw that.
Yeah.
Big mucky tire tracks, through the wetland there, and there's corduroy there, but the bikes go next to it. that's not really the intention of what we wanted is to get into. So we'll evaluate those and bring that recommendation to the NRC. And I mentioned it to the Trails Committee at their meeting, and there's two members, one's a committee member and one is a steward. They're both bike advocates, and they asked us to participate in that, which is fine. So
Sure.
we'll work as a group on that.
Does the Trails Committee have any kind of policy on bike
They-
trails versus,
you know-
or multi-use trails?
They've talked about it, but it's really something that, should be evaluated by the NRC since it's all in the conservation land. So,
Yeah, I just wonder, is their purview only restricted to conservation land or no trails townwide?
Well, so their purview is for mostly conservation lands, but, like the Reformatory Branch is municipal. They, steward that. We have a trail map that's dedicated to that. So there's a few parcels that, but the policy, I think they would like to have something
Yeah.
in place.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
to
would
have
think so.
consistent policies.
Yeah.
I
Right.
was wondering if they had jurisdiction over a broader.
So they're a subcommittee of the NRC. So whatever the NRC sort of says this is going to be a policy, then they would just implement that.
You mentioned some criteria. Are there any model criteria, best practices for?
It's the questions that I'm going to be asking my colleagues, because I've sort of done a little, research into it, just Googling around. I haven't found any criteria
Mhm.
per se. So if anybody comes across anything, public, do let me know. I'd be happy to.
There is I forget its name now. We brought it up once before. There's
NEMBA?
Huh?
The New England Mountain Bike
Yes,
Association.
yes.
Well, I was gonna suggest you look specifically at VEMBA, the Vermont Mountain Bike Association,
okay.
because they have had a lot of experience developing multi-use trail networks.
Yeah.
Specifically
The
because,
Kingdom,
well, I mean, all over the
All
state,
over, yeah.
actually. But specifically because in some of their communities, there's been opposition to mountain bikes.
Yeah.
And so while they have, insurance and landowner agreements and all these resources for establishing trails.
Yep.
In some communities where they've encountered resistance to mountain bikes, the approach has been, let's establish multi-use trail networks without using the word mountain bike.
right.
And I think they do then identify those trails that are suitable for mountain bike use,
That's
which
great.
make
yeah.
them separate from others.
And if they've already developed the criteria, there's.
I don't know if they have or not, but I
Yeah.
just know that
Yeah.
they have been
Good
focusing on
resource.
multi-use trail networks
Great.
as the language that they use.
Got it. Thank you. Let's see. The next, very quick, you saw this photo anyway earlier. We are again raising monarchs. So we had three were collected right out front of the building and one came from Madison. So in a couple of weeks, we'll have a chrysalis, and then a couple of weeks after that, we will have some monarchs. Hopefully help sustain the population. And then the last thing is that John Higgins, who is here this evening, contacted Susan Ross, the Public Health Director, about the technology that he is developing, funded by a National Science Foundation grant, and it captures harmful blue-green cyanobacteria. And he's willing to do a pilot project at White Pond.
Yeah.
And also is willing to come and talk to the commission about brief overview of the project. So, come on up.
Thank you. So yeah, my name's John Higgins. I'm no relation to Greg that I'm aware of. So with Higgins Environmental. I am a native of Concord now, by the way, but I have a National Science Foundation grant for this technology that removes harmful algae blooms with cyanobacteria. And from a really general overview, it's a mechanic. That's a kind of an illustration. It's better than a cartoon, but it does show you the basics. It's primarily a mechanical process. It doesn't involve chemical applications to the pond. It doesn't change the biology of the pond, other than removal of the cyanobacteria, which we specifically target. So it also could be considered like a harvesting kind of technology. I kind of look at it like a fishing net made for algae. That's kind of the idea. So our tasks under the National Science Foundation, and the reason I approached Concord is because we're actually looking for specific types of water bodies and specific types of cyanobacteria, of which you lucked out and had what we were looking for. So, and it is a pond I'm very familiar with. I used to swim there too with my parents a lot. So it's a floating, it's an open water technology. It doesn't trigger Wetlands Protection Act. I've gone through that with many towns already. Floats in the water. It's kind of like a fishing seam net almost. We use that collection member on the left to target and contain the area of HABs. We call them harmful algae blooms. And then we pull that in and we force the HABs into our trap area. And once it's the trap area, it concentrates, and we can close off the ends of the trap. And it becomes really a non-ambient water, like pool in a pool, that we then remove the harmful algae blooms from directly, or we can pump them to a boat, or we can pump them to land. And if we remove them in the water body, we actually use natural polymers to do that. And the ones that we prefer are the different types of options. There's something called chitosan, which is made out of shrimp shells and lobster shells. Chitin is actually the most common organic substance around. It's insects, shells, it's just everywhere. So, and it's a complex sugar or starch and sticks to the algae. They'll clump up and you just scoop them out. And so I don't know if you've seen this, but I did have just a kind of an intro that I sent to Susan Rask. If someone can pass this one, there's 5 of those. And this is our website there for more information. And there's a recent webinar that we did that has photos and early prototypes. But this is a no-cost trial for us. It's research and development. It's not a sell. We're not out here to demonstrate what we're doing. It's National Science Foundation is training us to improve this. So, and we actually are going to be taking out the cyanobacteria from whites. Our third task in our grant is actually to look at reuse options. And the one that we're evaluating here, which is why it's specific for whites, is composting of that to see how it degrades the toxins, which we've already documented degrades pretty quickly. It's a biological material. But we're also looking at other cell structures of this particular cyanobacteria. So we take sample size volumes out. So maybe 30 pounds or so, I imagine, as part of this trial.
And then the nice thing too is that with the bacteria, it sort of globs on all the phosphorus and the nutrients.
Yeah, the nutrients
Taking
that
that out
feed it.
as well.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
You love that.
I watched the YouTube video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Cool.
great,
Yeah.
so these
Really good video.
cyanobacteria have evolved over billions of years, and they each have these huge little niches that they specifically live in. Some are specific to white birch tree bark. I mean, they're just really specific, but they've evolved to gather nutrients, and that's how they survive. And they're very good at doing it. And instead of treating like nutrients in the pond, we just remove the cyanobacteria, and they actually remove the nutrients. So
Yeah.
it's great,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people say, well, how do you know when to stop? I was like, well, eventually you just don't catch anymore. There's no excess to catch anymore. So you get a diminishing return. It's like fishing, and eventually you just kind of overfish the cyanobacteria. They're still around, but not at excessive levels. So
In a pond application like this, where there's no flow of the water, what causes the water to go through the system?
well, wind is a big driver actually. So we have some places that we have passive things set up for like typical sea breezes, on the west side of the pond. And I can actually tell when I'm walking around the pond or boating on the pond where your predominant wind directions are just by distance and sediment types and shallow areas. So those little nook and cranny coves, also areas where it may be downwind, but it doesn't have enough wind stretch to pull it out again. So it's just this time of residency that adds up, and you can see that. So at White's, that would be on the south side of the beach area. That little kind of cove there. That's a nice area. And then there's some other little nook and crannies kind of on the northern side.
And how wide are the arms that when you set up a
It's fully
station?
scalable. It's fully scalable, but what we're going to be doing in White's is we're going to use an active. There's going to be active and passive use. An active member, the collection member is 100 feet long, and oftentimes what we'll do is we'll circle it around our target area, so it ends up being about 50 feet, and then we pull it back into our trap.
Right.
So, but it can be, any size. And that's actually part of our grant, is to look and see kind of what the maximum size could be. I actually have about 2 miles worth of collection member. So I don't know if I'm gonna get to that this year, maybe next year. And I did reach out to the Great Lakes, but I think it would be a lesson in a failure. But that actually is one of the bigger learning experiences, and that's one of the things that they're giving us research and development funding to do. You know, what would we need to do to increase the scale? So,
And just out of curiosity, if you set that up as an active draw,
yeah,
how long would that take? Is that a half-day process, a day process? Or?
well, active is it's deploy and remove in a day.
Okay.
So our first task of our grant is actually targeting in automation for the APOD. So we actually have instruments that we can detect cyanobacteria signs directly. So we can actually target them. It's like a fishing sonar, like those,
Right.
They're so advanced, like it's almost like cheating. Well, we just apply that to cyanobacteria, and we can pretty much identify where the excess concentrations are, and then we surround that. And with an active use, the goal is to be gone, start and be gone the day. So that way, if Concord or some other town had a swimming beach closure because of such and such, we could respond, maybe not that day or at the end of the day, but by the next day, and remove that condition. That's the active use. Passive use is longer term.
Sure.
So, but that can work pretty well too if the wind and conditions are favorable. If you've looked at our webinar, okay, and there's a proof of concept report for that. It's pretty quick. So essentially, the APOD is really that little cove, where the cyanobacteria gets stuck up in anyway and can't get out again. It's kind of like that, but it's one that we designed. It can move around as needed.
Yeah.
In its open water. So yeah, it's pretty neat. So I actually consider it the world's most ecologically sensitive mining technology for amateur geologists. And the cyanobacteria has 4-grade levels of nutrients in it. That's what geologists do. We identify where those are and we extract them. That's what that is. Yeah. We don't harm the water body. Other than removing the cyanobacteria, we don't get involved. That's the natural population too. You don't want them, just the excessive amount.
Very interesting.
Nice, yeah, we love it. National Science Foundation does too. So
Well, that's great.
works out well for us.
Well, good luck on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for the
Nice to meet
overview.
another Higgins too. Thank you.
Okay.
Will we get to see results of these?
Yeah, so he's gonna be collecting. So John, just so, you're collecting sampling data tomorrow.
Yeah, we have to tomorrow, and they'll be actually actively removing some of the scum at least anyway, and probably looking at some of the non-scum materials, see how they can track that as well. And we also have a limnologist that will know if they're listening to inherit that.
With, in terms of water quality.
Yeah, she has her own language, basically, like, I'm a geologist, and then she's a limnologist, and, we get together and figure these things out.
And Gary was just asking that
Oh,
the
sorry.
results would be shared with the
Oh,
town.
all of the results will be shared with the town. It's gonna take us a while. This is our field season.
Yeah.
So I can pretty much work and put my head down, So it's really probably once the algae season's over. If we have any results that are, I'll probably keep Delia and Susan informed of kind of the day-to-day, like here are the results. But any kind of summary report, it's probably gonna wait till the algae season's over.
Yeah.
Just because it's.
No, it's just
We're in the
interesting to
field.
see some before and after.
Yeah, so we actually
Water quality.
we do this
Yeah.
intense like perimeter surveys. We actually take readings every 2 feet or so of different phytocyanin content to see what the cyanobacteria is doing. Like within 10 feet of the shoreline, and then we spiral out into the center of the pond. Then we do a vertical profile through the center of the pond. And I've already done sediment sampling of the ponds, and all that stuff tells us about what the condition of the pond is. And White's Pond is still, and it hasn't changed much since I've been a kid. I think the water level seems lower, but the houses seem bigger. But that could just be time, I don't know. But the water clarity is great. Water clarity is not water quality, but the water clarity is pretty important, pretty significant. And the aquatic vegetation there just seems just very happy. This is a very natural setting of invasive species going crazy. So, yeah, and there wasn't much sediment in the base of the pond, which surprised me. It almost always is. I always go to these kind of algae. pond, so.
Yeah,
right.
right. There's not though, that's right, except if you want it, the road cove.
Yeah, I
Where,
hard time.
where the bloom really starts. a
Yeah,
lot.
you'll get some of that in smaller, shallow areas. Even the center of the pond, it wasn't the deepest part of the pond. I had no soft, I have a gravity pool. I have no soft sediment. It was like this hitting like sand and gravel. It was really neat. So that tells me, although you have cyanobacteria, it isn't like a eutrophic pond that's like really productive and they just things are growing and dying and just emptying the bottom sediments all the time. I think you have a pretty balanced community of cyanobacteria in these macrophytes, aquatic plants. It's just that the cyanobacteria has issues that need to be addressed, particularly when it's excessive. And that's what we're focused on doing. All right.
Great. Thank you, John. Okay, I think we've got, I think it's 3 buckets of continuances. Someone pick that on?
Make a motion to open and continue without discussion, 1643 Minor Street, which I don't have the numbers for,
To August 11th.
to August 11th. Thank you. I was going to do 2 together, but I guess I shouldn't.
Yeah,
There's only one.
different, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Second?
Okay, the vote, Greg,
I
Gary,
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well.
make a motion to continue to August 11th without discussion, 1597 Minor Street, which is DEP file number 1371558, and 455 Bedford Street, which is DEP file number 1371561, and also 43 Old Bedford Road, which is DEP file number 1371504.
Second?
Okay, and Greg,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
I'm an aye as
And
well.
lastly, can make a motion to continue to September 1st without discussion, 363, 65 Palm Ave, DEP file number 1371568, and 209 Musterfield Road, DEP file number 1371567.
Second?
Thank you, Nick. Greg,
Aye.
Greg, Gary,
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you. All right, new applications to be heard this evening. We have 78 Elm Street, RDA file number 21-14. Who is here for this application?
Oh, that's very briefly.
Oh, sure, you can just give us an overview. Thank you.
I think what's being discussed tonight is basically book one. We're on the water. in the Sudbury River. The area that's indicated in cloud-like white scallops is the area we're talking about. It's actually a small area. It's right on the river. Currently under 4 feet tall. So over the past few years, I have been trying to do it myself. I'm almost 80. You know, and it's just beyond what I can do because I have to dig with a hoe. It took me 3 hours to get one done. So it's time to get some help. And Park Care Ecological Services has been there to evaluate the situation, and they have indicated that they have a system in place which involves
Yeah.
so that's where we are in the initial treatment, and it's in the spend some more time.
Yeah, we've seen him in front of us quite often, does very good work.
Not a million times. Just for the record.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. All right. Any questions from the commission?
No.
No.
Okay.
Great idea.
Yes, we've seen a lot of these projects recently, so it's a great continuation of those. Any comments from the public? Any online deal? Oh, yes, please.
I would just like the record to reflect that she was not.
Agreed.
You're not located.
Yeah, good question.
Of course.
I expected him to be here. I communicated.
Miles?
And he said he would be here.
Ah.
I'm not here, so I have a question. Isn't it better to do it when there isn't any water there? Okay.
Yeah.
So is someone gonna give us, he should know about all this. I'm the novice.
So, right, so as part of the approval, there will be a condition that prior to the work beginning, that you and Smiles and I will meet on site to review the work. And yes, let's wait until we can get into the work area without.
School.
Yeah, 4 feet is. Oh. Okay. No one online, Delia, that you see have this question? Okay. Could we have a motion?
Move to issue a negative determination number 3 with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with DNR staff and the contractor to define limits of work. 2, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described.
Second.
Thank you, Greg. The vote, Greg?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you very much. Good luck with the project. All right, next up, 4 to 18 Arcus Farm Road, RDA file number 21-16. Good evening.
So let me know.
Can we have your name?
Yeah,
For the
Andy
record?
Hoffman at 6 Arcus Farm.
Thank you.
I don't know how much detail we want, but I'll do sort of a similar.
Yeah, broad overview would be fine.
So I'm here on behalf of our rural neighborhood, because they were right off Lowell Road, pretty much the last street before we get to Carlisle. It's a pretty old neighborhood. It's been there for about 30 years. And over time, the road was just basically disintegrated. I brought pictures. I don't know if that help or not. You can imagine a road that's all torn up by floods and stuff. So we reached out to a contractor to figure out how to fix it in sort of the way that is going to be least intrusive to the surrounding areas, because you can see we are sort of by the wetlands. And they recommended this sort of full depth replacement, which was they pulverize the existing road and then they just lay right on top of it without sort of pulling out a bunch of stuff or creating a bunch of mess. So it's lateral paving. So they sort of advised us that that's how they would do it, and they have standard precautions of plating below grade on the sewers and then so that's short water and all that. So I think that the two we implicated Concord bylaw and the wetlands act. So I think we're seeking a negative determination on those two. And we can move forward or do that steps.
Just clarification, this is a private way. It's not a.
And the road does intersect with the 25-foot, 50-foot, and 100-foot buffers in a few locations. Is there a sidewalk now?
So there's a sidewalk just on sort of the north side that follows along. And it's about maybe 10 feet off the road.
Right.
And that sidewalk is going to be, it's all plants as well. They're just going to lay right on top an inch of concrete to cover the cracks.
But the intention is to replace exactly, or not
In
replace,
kind.
but yeah.
Literally.
There's going to be no change.
No.
The paved area.
And no elevation change when they say that they're just gonna break up the bituminous,
So as I
how do you
understand, it
meet
was
the?
a pavement overlay, so they mill
Oh,
down.
they're milling.
They're milling.
Isn't that what, you're not doing a full depth reclamation, you're not going down to the sub base.
They're not gonna bring graders to regrade the road.
I wouldn't think so. The road seems like it's old, but I wouldn't think.
So
it'd
it's
be full
pretty
depth.
old. It's oh, street pictures. We talked about the milling option. You see, they said that because of the way that it was laid down the first time, you guys can pass those along. They didn't recommend milling because they said it would basically amount to a hybrid, where once they got in there, they would end up having to redo the whole thing anyways. Because if you
It looks like it's not thick enough.
right, if you do that top inch, you're down just in the dirt.
Yeah.
So they
Oh,
said,
It's that thin?
right, yeah.
Oh.
And,
Somebody
they'll be
missed
regrading.
initially. Yeah.
So they will be regrading it. It just wore off.
yeah, I think
Just to smooth it out.
Right,
Yeah.
just-
Yeah.
Yeah, put the crown back.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it.
So it's the same footprint,
Yeah.
But they're just removing all of this, just touch it up with the grader and then reapply.
Yeah, and I don't even think they're removing, I think they keep, because we wanted to make sure they reclaim what's.
Oh, they
already there.
reclaim it.
Yeah,
They don't
They
actually
don't
take
throw it out.
Yeah, they just
I
sort
mean,
of.
their quote says reclaim, haul, and dispose of excess, but if there's no excess, they won't. And remove existing berm, fine grade and compact, machine made 2 inches bituminous concrete binder course.
Okay, so it's a slightly deeper finish course, that's all.
Right, it's.
Which is,
plain paved over.
seems like very straightforward.
Yeah. From wetland interests, it doesn't seem like it's changing much.
No, and it's, in kind replacements, so. As long as the erosion controls are installed, we'll have a condition, same as the prior applicant, that staff comes out and makes the contract.
Any drainage structures on the road, or is it just a private drive that it's just on the
I
crown, just
don't know if there
sheets?
are, but we included a condition
Silt
that if
sacks
there
and-
are drainage structures, that they get, then Lazaro will know what.
Yeah,
the
they told
silt
us.
sacks.
Yeah, they,
Okay.
they do the salt stack.
Okay, okay.
Okay, motion?
Yes.
Any
Comments?
Oh, I'm
Comments?
sorry. Any comments from the public on this? Anybody online? Okay, I think we're ready for motion.
I move that we issue a negative determination with number 3 with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with the DNR staff and the contractor to review erosion controls and limits of work. 2, silt sacks shall be placed and maintained in all catch basins. And 3, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described.
Second.
Thanks, Greg. On the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Oh, and I as well.
All right, thank you guys so much, and thank you, Delia, for walking us through on the email and helping us.
Oh, yeah, no worries at all.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Next project, 51 Coolidge Road, RDA file number 21 dash. Let's see, is Sean?
Would you skip one? Wait a minute.
Hi, I'm here on Zoom. I'll be talking about that one.
Yeah, I think it's 51 up next.
51 code, yeah, but you got the DEP number.
Oh, did I? 137-1571. Let me correct the record. Thank you, Nick. Sean, is that you?
No, sorry. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Nathaniel from Stanley McNary, the applicant's representative. I'll be talking about this project.
Yes, Nan. Yep, Nathaniel,
Okay.
you're on. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, thank you. So this is a proposed addition to the house. So the current site, it's a little under a 10-acre lot, like about a 9.5 acre lot. There's a single family dwelling. There's bordering vegetated wetland on a majority of the site, and in the area of the house, it's like wraps all around the house by the property lines. There's also a floodplain, which goes just past the edge of the house, noted by the heavy dash dotted line. And the project is to build an extension to the front of the house at the garage. So they're going to extend the front of the garage, and it's going to meet an existing non-conforming setback of 31 feet to the front lot line. So this project is also going before the ZBA in August. And the entire, all of the work is on basically the existing driveway footprint. So it's just extending the existing garage about 6 to 4 feet, depending on which side of the house it's on. And the outer overhang is going to connect, and that's going to be the furthest distance out to the front lot line where the 31 foot setback meets. And there's we proposed a silt barrier along the left of the house, looking at the plan. We also, based on staff comments, proposed tree protection around the 2 trees that are there within the silt barrier. So that's not the limit of work. That's just to prevent any silt runoff from during construction. So there's tree protection around the 2 trees, just as a safety measure. We noted soil stockpiling over to the right of the driveway. That's also just on existing lawn, and it's outside of the 100 foot. Okay, those are pretty much the major points. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Delia, I know you noted that there were some inconsistencies on elevation and whatnot. Has that been clarified now?
So the floodplain elevation is, the map floodplain elevation is 120.3, but what we have on the plan here is 121.1. Nathaniel, so
Mhm.
that just needs to be reconciled. Just need to double check that map, flood elevation.
Yeah, I checked the FEMA real quick before the hearing, and you're correct. It shows as 120.3, so I can just have it edited. It moves it away from the work even further, but I can get a revised plan over for sure.
And is staff good with the flagging out there? I know there's a question about
So there was a corner of the lawn that had hydric soils.
that.
And so the applicant is willing to just have the permit be issued with a finding that says that the wetland boundary is not approved under this.
Okay. Yeah, it's not
Otherwise,
effective
I mean,
anyway.
it
Yeah,
would cost them money to have the wetland scientists go back out and then
Yeah.
get re-flagged and resurveyed and everything else. So it's so far away from the 50 foot, it wasn't necessary to sort of pin that down.
okay. Great. And all the forms.
But we're not asking them to move the lawn back out of that hydric soil area.
It's already there.
It's a pre-existing
It's already
condition.
there.
Yeah.
Just asking.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. Any public comment in regards to this application? Okay. So I guess, Nathaniel, if you and the owner are okay, sounds like we'll continue this to August 11th, or, sounds like minor plan revisions. Ideally, those have to be in by Friday, midday.
That this is so minor,
So
I would
Change the
say
number.
just.
next week is fine. Next Wednesday is fine. Nathaniel, fine with that?
Sure, yeah. So the only thing is the reconciled floodplain elevation. Is that right?
Sounds like it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because the other finding you'll include in the.
Yeah.
And it still has to go to Board of Appeals, yeah?
No, because the work is not within the,
Floodplain.
But
correct.
it's,
But it's a 31 setback.
It's a
Oh,
30,
I'm sorry, you're right, it does
Go
have
to
to go to
ZBA.
ZBA.
just
Correct.
matching, seeing if that's acceptable to match the
Coming up to the
non-conformance.
non-conforming,
Yeah.
that's right, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where are you, Sandy, where are you in that? I'm just curious of timing.
So we have whatever the I don't remember off the top of my head, but we have whatever the August hearing is for the ZBA.
Hey, hi, Commission. This is Sean Cutting. The ZBA hearing that we're on, I believe, is August 12th. And my request, if possible, is if the changes are so minor, I'm wondering if there's any chance that we can do those administratively or if this needs to be formally continued.
Yeah, it should be continued.
So you'll have your permit prior to the ZBA hearing on Thursday, because the commission will meet on the 11th.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Evening. All right. Next up is 43. Oh, excuse me. It is 1061 Monument Street, RDA file number 21-14.
All right, I'll stay on. I'm talking about this one as well.
Hey, Nathaniel, just give us 1 second.
Yep. Yep, take your time.
right,
It says 17 on the agenda.
17, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it is 17, Karen.
Yep, I know it is.
Okay, so let me correct that. It's RDA file number 21-17 for the record. Okay. Okay, Nathaniel, you are up again.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right, so I'll just state again for the recording. My name is Nathaniel. I'm from Stanley McNary, and I'm talking about 1061 Monument Street. So this project is a replacement septic system. So first of all, it's existing single family house, and there's it's a really massive lot. There's like a couple other buildings on it, but the subject is the single family house. And there's bordering vegetated wetland located to the east of the house. And the project is the replacement of the existing on-site septic system. So the house is currently served by 3 cesspools located around the house, and all 3 of them are in failure. So the project is to replace it with a single septic system with trenches. The system itself and the septic tank are located outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And the only work within the 100-foot buffer zone is the abandonment of that cesspool that's to the east. So it's on the lower part of the screen right now. So it's the abandonment of that cesspool, and then laying a portion of the pipe from the east side of the house along the driveway and through the lawn to meet the septic tank. And that's the extent of work in the 100. And the reason that we decided to file, we thought an RDA would be more appropriate for this site, because all of the work is on existing pavement or lawn area on the property within the 100-foot, and anything that's disturbed is going to be returned to the pre-construction conditions. And sorry, I had a couple of notes on it. We're not proposing, there's no vegetation clearing. It's all on existing disturbed areas. And my understanding is the homeowner is just trying to simply just, replace the system, just like an in and out, quick, straightforward construction project. We did consider, the possibility of, avoiding work within the 100 altogether, but it's really not possible because it would be like too difficult beyond reason to be able to reroute the plumbing in the house. So the pipe that is in the 100-foot buffer zone has to be there. There's really no other way to lay it out the system. But again, just like restate, that is the full extent of work, just replacing the system. No vegetation clearing. It's all on existing lawn and pavement. Any disturbed area will be returned to pre-construction conditions. Yeah. And I think that covers everything. I can take any questions again if there are any.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the commission on this?
No, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, looks pretty straightforward. Any comment or question from the public on this application? All right, seeing none, I think we have a motion.
Move to issue a negative determination number 3 with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with DNR staff and the contractor to review erosion controls and limits of work. 2, stockpiling shall occur outside the 50-foot buffer zone. 3, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described.
Thank you, Greg. And the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you, Nathaniel.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next hearing, 43 Brook Street, RDA file number 21-18. Is Richard here?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi, Richard.
With me tonight is property owner Stephen Camp. Stephen and his wife Catherine had retained LEC and landscape architect Laura Kuhn to evaluate the invasive species currently on the property and how best to approach managing those invasive plants. So Laura and I have met with Stephen several times out at the property, and in talking with Delia, she had recommended that perhaps we prepare and submit an RDA application to get the invasive species management process flowing this summer before plants start going to seed, and when we remove them, of course, we don't want to further disperse seed and contribute to the invasive seed bank that's probably already there. But so what we did was we put together this request for determination to get started on the invasive species management on the property. And we fully intend to prepare and submit a more thorough notice of intent application mid to late September, maybe early October, to talk about the replacement plants with native species. And Laura Kuhn will be working on the planting palette for that. And we will more formalize our long-term invasive species management plan. But basically, this on your screen now is the sketch plan that we had put together to accompany the RDA application. It shows the property at 43 Brook Street, which contains a single-family dwelling surrounded by lawn and landscaped areas, a covered porch and off the rear of the house. And you can see shaded in yellow is the area that we're looking to manage the invasive plants. There's an intermittent stream along the southern property boundary that's somewhat obscured by it's a blue line, somewhat obscured by the red property line outlining the site. And we've shaded the area of natural vegetation where we're looking to manage those invasive plants. The usual suspects are present. There's Japanese knotweed, Oriental bittersweet, multiflora rose, European buckthorn, honeysuckle, seedling sapling Norway maple, etc. And the applicant is looking to remove this biomass by hand or with a brush cutter where appropriate. For example, with the Japanese knotweed, it makes more sense to go over it with a brush cutter than it does to remove it by hand. Whereas the occasional Tatarian honeysuckle would be removed, using a weed wrench or a shovel, or perhaps just simply cut. Immediately after cutting, we're looking to apply glyphosate to the cut stem. That will either be dabbed on or applied with a sprayer, but of course we aren't talking about any broadcast foliar spraying. It would be a quick pull of the trigger on the cut stem to simply apply it to the cut stem with and nothing else. So that's what we're looking to do. At this point, we did prepare a waiver request. At Delia's request, we submitted a revised RDA that talked about the waiver for work in the 25-foot no disturbance zone, basically taking the position that, if we are going to effectively manage invasive plants in the site, we really need to get into that zone. Otherwise, it becomes sort of a futile effort if there's a source of those invasive plants within the 25-foot zone to migrate into the rest of the buffer zone. So as I said, we fully intend, and it's in the works, to prepare a notice of intent early fall to provide a planting palette for the site as we continue to manage these invasive plants and replace them with natives. But we're hopefully would like to get started sooner rather than later on the invasive species management effort. So with that, I'd be happy to turn it back to the commission and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Rich. I guess the only question I have is I was a commission good with that kind of two-step process, getting going now and obviously following up soon thereafter with NOI. Okay. Yeah, makes sense, especially to get ahead of the invasive.
One thing about the filing.
Yeah.
Usually we try to encourage applicants, homeowners to file, to do these invasive species removal projects.
Mm-hmm.
And we have traditionally just recorded an RDA for that.
Mm.
So, I don't think that this rises to any higher level.
Okay.
So I think Rich, you could just file an RDA.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Great.
Delia, could you say that again? I didn't quite make that out.
RDA instead of NOI.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and of course, as a condition of the RDA approval, Delia, we'd love to meet you out there just to give you a sense of what it is we're proposing. Hartney is the landscape contractor that Stephen plans to hire to do this work, and I know he has some pretty good experience in town. So, happy to do that with you as well.
Okay. Any comments, Ms. Michelle? Okay.
There was I sent out around a revised, an email with revised conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Any comments from the public on this? Oh, let's look at that.
Just gotta get to the right mailbox.
Yeah. Okay, next thing, Annie?
Gary has it.
Okay, Gary.
And,
When we highlighted that.
Highlighted in
Yeah.
there.
Number 4. Uh, Okay, so. Yeah, negative determination number 3 with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit will be held with DNR staff and the applicant to review the limits of work. 2, all invasive species shall be removed and properly disposed of. 3, areas of invasive species shall not be converted to lawn. 4, an application for further invasive removal and replanting shall be filed by fall 2021. And 5, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Greg.
2 seconds.
Yep. All right, in the vote, Greg,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
and I as well.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good luck.
All right.
All right, let's see. I think that's the end of the hearings. We're into a COC.
Mhm. So 289 the Valley Road, it was a 2011 after the fact filing for some retaining wall construction and tree removals. The work has been completed satisfactorily.
Okay.
I make a motion to issue a COC for 289 the Valley Road, DEP file number 137-1089.
Second.
Thanks, Nick. Greg?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you. Other business. I think
Got
we,
Lions Park.
Lions Park, we're not doing that?
nope, I think that got put off. Yep. So we had one COC and now
Yeah, right.
other business. Commissioner Sarah Grimwood has kindly agreed to represent the NRC at the CPC committee, which is great news. And I think they have a meeting coming up pretty shortly as well. So right around the corner.
That's a good community.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
You get to, I mean, it's kind of a nice thing to be able to do in Russell.
Giving away money.
Yep.
Giving me money that isn't yours, but also
Well, good
starting with 3 million and getting people to agree to only take $1.3 million. You know?
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to recommend Sarah Grimwood to the
It's in your
CPC.
email, Gary. It's an email, yeah.
Yeah.
I make a motion to nominate Sarah Grimwood to the as NRC representative of CP.
So a recommendation.
A
to select
recommendation to
board.
the select board.
We recommend to the select. board?
Yes, and then they'll appoint.
Yeah.
If you can pass that muster. Make a recommendation that we nominate Sarah Grimwood to the select board for the position on the community preservation.
For a term to expire on.
Oh, I have to read all that?
2024.
Okay.
It was a joint effort on the motion. Do we have a second? Thank you, Nick.
I didn't have that in my.
And the vote. Greg,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. Thank you, Sarah. All right,
Yes.
and a final administrative approval.
Yes, Concord Land Conservation Trust is looking to do some native planting at the former Bay House. I think they're actually looking for a new name for that property since there's no Bay House there anymore. But it's for the stone boathouses at the bottom of the hill. So up on top, there's this enclosure. They want to put in some native plantings, but it's 170, and they're going to have a mini excavator with a little drill auger to dig the holes to put them in. So because, I mean, native plantings are exempt, but because it was a little bit more than just putting in a few, shrubs, and
Right.
I thought it would be best just to get it as an administrative approval. Then that area, which is an existing, enclosure area. I don't know if it was like horses there or something at one time, or sheep. I don't know what it was. I mean, there's stone wall around 3 sides of it. Anyway, so they just want to get that planted with natives, so they're gonna put a fence around it that's a deer protection.
Great.
Mhm. Great project. 4,000 square feet of planting. Mhm.
Very good.
Now, just now that you mentioned Fairhaven, have we got any feedback on our anti-deer pens out there to see how the vegetation is going?
We have not. And
It's
I
been
can,
a few years now. Just be interesting to
Yeah.
see if they're seeing, or it's
yeah, I
coming
know,
back.
yeah, and if I misrepresented, the Joan Ferguson is actually always really good about, she does her eyes across the piece, so she may have submitted something and I'm not remembering.
Yeah.
I'll check, if she hasn't, I'll ask the update.
One thing I became aware of, glyphosate, you aware that it's available in a gel form?
Oh, yes, I am, but
I've used it.
and,
It's great.
Okay.
Basically, it's like a deodorant stick. And you
Oh.
just, no, that's the shape of it. And there's a little grid on the top. You just turn the thing at the bottom, a little bit oozes up. I wear nitrile gloves if I have to do it.
Yeah.
And just get it on the smear of the gloves and you can put it exactly where you want.
brilliant, okay.
No overspray, no liquid dropping.
That's
Are
great.
you on the veg notes?
Yes.
Do you see that? I haven't read it yet, but there was an article on glyphosate versus glyo.
Yeah, the other one doesn't
Phasers.
work except for things that
Except
are
for young.
germinated. Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah. So the glyphosate gel.
Yeah, I got it on Amazon. It's more expensive, but it's, I'm sure you can get it elsewhere.
It's for killing invasive.
Yeah, it's a cut and dab sort of applications. I mean,
Yeah, no,
it's
that sounds like a great
perfect
thing.
for that.
Yeah,
It's much better than.
it's not liquid,
Good.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes, Sue.
Glyphosate, GLY, PHOSATE.
Roundup, it's Roundup. basically.
Oh, or
Yeah.
rodeo.
Yeah.
Wetlands.
Okay, and with that.
Motion to adjourn.
So
Oh.
we have a few members of the public who haven't spoken. I don't know.
Oh, sure.
There's,
Joy or Tiffany? Any comments?
Hi, I'm Joy. I'm the prospective buyer for 289 the Valley Road. So thank you very much for the COC.
Oh, good. You're welcome.
Right.
All right. Greg, want to give that one more shot?
I'll try again.
Please.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right. Nick?
Aye.
Gary? Greg?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Thank you, guys.
If you meet out in Fairhaven Bay, I think there was 3